This is the exact method that I use to create endless pieces of content from just one idea. If you've ever felt frustrated about coming up with content ideas for your brand, stay tuned, buckle up, because this is what I do to do endless content. First, your idea that you're going to start with has to be high value. So what does that mean, Carolyn? Start with something that's either a frequently asked question that your clients or potential clients pose towards you, or something that's one of their pain points. If you don't know your clients' pain points or the solution that your business is trying to provide for them, maybe you need to assess that before we continue to content creation. But I'm sure you actually do know what pain points you're solving for. So let's talk about that, right? When I'm trying to come up with content ideas for Bad Axe, one of the first things I do is I think about the complaints that I hear from business owners related to marketing, and, kind of some of those complaints, are they solvable by me? No. Other complaints, totally solvable by me. So assess the pain points that you are looking at, or the frequently asked questions. Is this actually something that I can solve? If it is, yes, let's move forward. So we're going to actually live real time do this with Bad Axe as an example, because I'm always picking on myself. So the pain point that I'm going to use today for this demonstration is one that I hear from almost every single person that owns a business. I don't have time for marketing. Okay? Anybody else feeling seen out there? Right, okay. So that is something that is across the board, across industry for me. Business owners don't have time for marketing. Okay, so that's a pain point that they're facing. So let's take that and formulate an idea. How to make time for marketing. How to make marketing easier. You can kind of see how you could take that pain point and create some content around it, right? Okay. Got the wheels turning. You're thinking about your brand's clients, what they're going through, what they're struggling with, what freight trains are driving through their town right now. We're going to go through anyways. So once you have that pain point, you're going to start brainstorming, kind of like I was just doing a second ago, breaking down further pieces of that initial pain point, right? So a business owner doesn't have time to do marketing. What are some things that might be causing that? Poor time management. Maybe they don't have tools for automating their marketing, or they don't know that those sorts of tools exist. So I would be writing this out either on notebook or my crazy person giant paper over here, starting to write down auxiliary things that could be causing that pain point that you're going to solve for. So don't have time for marketing. I'm going to break that down into kind of 3 areas, right? Time management, marketing tools, and idea generation. Because a lot of times I've found that business owners struggle with coming up with ideas. So they aren't, necessarily sure what they should be doing for their brand's marketing. Idea generation could be one of those. Okay, so we're going to brainstorm that. So under the time management, we're going to talk about scheduling software. We're going to talk about using your Google Calendar, using a planner. We're going to talk about booking time for yourself, setting aside time for yourself to actually handle your marketing. We're going to talk about cycle syncing and using your brain when it's its most creative to come up with marketing content for your brand. So that's kind of the one category of that frequently asked question. The next one we're going to talk about for tools, right? Later, my favorite. We're talking about scheduling software. So Later would be one of those. I can think of probably 300 different social media posts that I could do surrounding Later. How to use it, how to set it up, my favorite tricks for it, how I use it, the back end of me using it, all these different things that I could do just for that one thing, right? Other tools that are out there, the spreadsheet that I use to plan out content, that's a tool, a content calendar. How do you develop one? How does that help you reclaim your time? What does the planning process look like? That could kind of be time management and a tool, right? What does the content planning process look like? And then in the third pillar, that's sort of like idea creation. What to do when you have content ideas? What to do if you have no content ideas? How to collect and sort them, and then that, kind of funnels into the tool side too, right? So you're seeing how I'm pulling all of these different things that can help solve towards that initial pain point, that initial frequently asked question. How can I help business owners reclaim their time, make marketing easy, and stay strategic, okay? So now you've got a bunch of ideas, little sub-ideas from that larger pain point. Now it's time to reformat. This is one of my favorite things. And it has one of my favorite objections. When I'm teaching classes about content creation, one of the things I say is don't reinvent the wheel every time, right? Don't think that you have to come up with every single individual piece of content has to be totally new. I've talked about this topic in blog posts, in monthly emails, in social media posts, in other YouTube videos, in live streams, in workshops, in classes, right? This same core concept, this same problem that I'm trying to solve in all these different ways. So, this is the objection part. Won't that get repetitive? Yes, it could, if your client is literally consuming every single piece of content that you've ever put out there. And either they are your super fan, or maybe they're obsessed with you, married to you, your mom, dad, I don't know. There's somebody who's like very, very invested in your brand. If they're consuming that much content, they probably should be a paying client at that point because they love everything that you're putting out there so much. Most people, even if they love you, are not going to see everything you put out there. And the other funny thing that's super fun is the human brain doesn't usually take action on one iteration of hearing something. Like, an example. Think about how many times you forget to put toothpaste or toilet paper on your grocery list, even though you're out of it. You see the empty container. You maybe see an ad for it. You write it on your list. You forget your list at home. You're in the store. You see the thing, right? So that's not just like a random one time. I'm out of toothpaste. I will remember to get it and I will never think of it again. It will just happen. That's not really usually what happens. Usually you have several different touch points before you make the decision to put the toothpaste in the cart and purchase it, right? Everything else is the same way too. It takes 8 to 12 times for a person to hear about something before they're ready to make a decision. So don't let the broken record, repetitive, whatever, be an objection for you. Plus, you're going to be reformatting this idea in a bunch of different ways. So I'm going to pick one of those ideas. My favorite ways to schedule content in advance. We're going to use that idea. So I could write a social media post that is multiple slides, that's graphics, that breaks down my 3 favorite ways to schedule my posts in advance. We'll talk about later. We'll talk about the native scheduler on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll talk about Planoly. I don't know. We'll just pick 3, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so I've got 3 slides. I can easily expand on those and make them into a blog post or an email. That's just usually my next step. Then from there, I can easily make the blog post or email into a YouTube video. From that, I can take a spin on it and make it kind of goofy and comical and make a reel or a TikTok. I can take that short format video and expand it even more and make it a live stream. That's what I mean by reformatting. You're taking one of those sub-ideas from your larger pain point and you're repackaging it a bunch of different ways. If you go back on my social media content, you're going to see this happen. You're going to see me ask a question in my stories, and then maybe I've made a funny reel about it, and then maybe I've made a more serious social media post about it, and maybe if you subscribe to my newsletter list, you've seen it there. Or maybe the same concept has been taken and dissected in really in depth in my online community. So you just repackage it based on different content types, what platform it's going on, all those different things, right? And not everyone is going to see every single one of those. And sometimes some people respond better to a video, some people respond better to a blog post. Everybody is different with the type of content they engage in. So giving people multiple avenues to engage with you is only going to benefit your brand. So that brings us up to the distribution point. Consider what platform your content is going to. Longer articles, email, blog posts, LinkedIn, maybe Facebook. Those are places where you can be really text heavy and have the content perform well. If you're thinking video and it's short format, Reels on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. If you're thinking long format video, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, not as much. If you're thinking live streams, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, your private community, whatever. If you are thinking like, okay, I just want graphic words, almost any platform except TikTok and YouTube would do well. So consider which platforms you're on and what's going to perform best there, and that's going to help you distribute that content that you came up with in a way that's like really optimized and it's going to perform the best possible, right? Like you wouldn't just post a static graphic with some music playing in the background for a TikTok video. That's probably not going to do very well because that's not what the platform's built for. After that, the next thing you need to do after you've come up with your ideas, you've brainstormed sub-ideas, you've designed content, you've distributed it, reformatted it, what comes next? Engage with it. If people aren't engaging with it, think of a way to repackage it or just ditch the idea. It's okay if there's duds. You know your audience doesn't need that at that point. Move on, learn from it, and do something different next time. If you're still very convinced, which I do this a lot because I'm stubborn, if I'm still very convinced that a content idea or something that I'm trying to create is really, really important for my ideal client, and I've created, maybe a couple different iterations of it, and they've bombed, I will keep trying different formats until I find one that resonates. And sometimes none of them do because I'm stubborn and I just keep going with something that my audience doesn't need. That said, learn from your audience, engage with them. They're probably going to, if they find something that really resonates with them, they're going to feed you even more content ideas. Collect those and get ready to do the whole process over again with reformatting, repackaging, and distributing really good high-value content. Make sense? Awesome. I'd love to hear discussions below what you think about this process, if you currently use something similar, or how you come up with content ideas. Tell me in a comment, and until next time, stay badass.